If there were any two core components of personal professional growth that most lawyers would like to be able to get mastered, they are going to be productivity and focus. The ability to get more done and the ability to try and avoid those distractions. So that's what we're going to have a talk about in this lesson. Productivity, as well as being just generally helpful so far as getting things done in the day is concerned, is also a key element to business success. The more your staff can get done, the more profitable you are likely to be. That makes sense. We're going to deal with that a little bit more later. The question is, how can you be more personally productive? I've linked it in with focus because productivity and focus are so regularly aligned with each other. Often your productivity takes a hit if you're continually interrupted by things. So let's start with some practical strategies to help you focus on a job. The first thing I think is useful is going to be chunking the job down. So sometimes, interruptions aside, our lack of focus is a consequence of the fact that we haven't got a clear direction for what it is we're supposed to be doing. Perhaps the task is fairly big, perhaps we're still investigating what exactly we need to be doing to solve the problem in question. Whatever it may be, often our focus shifts from one thing to another to another to another if we haven't got a clear game plan for what it is we should be working on. So I think my focus tip number one is going to be for any given task, again, much like habits, break it down into component pieces. You then have a sequence of smallish tasks that you can focus on at any one go. And this leads very quickly into tip two, which is focus on one thing. Now that is kind of the definition of focus, but if you are trying to do more than one thing at a time, all that's happening is you're doing things badly. Don't pretend that you can multitask. You can't. It's a lie. Focus involves the ability to dedicate yourself to a single task until it is completed appropriately. Now, there are some things, of course, you cannot control, and there's no point getting frustrated about these. You cannot control your boss coming in the door and interrupting you or taking you off task. You cannot always control other lawyers interrupting you. You cannot always control your phone depending on the nature of the environment in which you work. There's probably no reason you can't turn your phone on to Do Not Disturb, depending on what your firm's policy is about picking up the phone. So, as well as focusing on one task and deciding to do a task in advance, we have a few other strategies we can do. Firstly, eliminate whatever distractions you can. This means closing your email. This means turning your phone off. If you have constant notifications flashing up, I don't care however briefly you do it, if it is just a half a second where your eyes flick to the notifications to see what's there, you're distracted. You've taken your brain off task. The same goes for notifications on social media. The same goes for phone calls. If you can remove these things by turning off notifications or closing down the software altogether, you're going to be far more able to focus. Reality check, I know most of you aren't going to do that. At the very least, turn notifications off on your phone, shut down social media. You're probably going to have your email open despite anything I say. I usually have my email open too, and you just have to discipline yourself not to check it all the time. That is focus. The other thing we're going to do in focus is we're going to choose one task to do at a time. That means we need to prioritize. We need to go, right, here are the tasks I'm going to do. I'm picking this one, and then do that one and only that one until you can no longer work on it for whatever reason. Maybe you finish a draft, maybe you have to wait for someone else, maybe you've taken it to its conclusion and the job is done. Whatever it may be, work on one thing at a time. This might mean having only one folder open on your screen. This might mean having only one physical folder on your desk. To the extent possible, be working on one file at any one time. With focus in mind, and those are my straightforward tips for focus, how are you going to get more done? Productivity has a tendency to be an interesting topic of conversation. Personally, I think more productivity can be gained by people who are refreshed, people who know what they're doing, and people who are given the necessary tools. So with any task, before you leap into it and sort of flounder your way through it, Ask yourself those questions. Do I know what I'm doing? Do I understand the question? Do I understand what I've been asked to achieve? Do I understand the necessary elements that I have to know in order to complete this task? That is the question. Do you have the tools available? Second question is this: are you in the right space to be working on the task? If you didn't sleep, if you're distracted by personal issues, if you have low energy because you eat terribly, these things will all affect your productivity. Now, these are big picture questions that you're going to need to address. On any given day, you can't just go home and abandon your job because you didn't get a great night's sleep, probably. So you need to adopt a lifestyle that is going to give you enough energy to be productive. That means, yes, eating properly, that means sleeping properly, and that means knowing what it is that gives you that boost that allows you to be more productive. The next thing is to be aware of when you work best. The vast majority of people that I know work best in the morning. There are some strange people that I don't understand at all who work best in the afternoons and evenings. When do you work best? That might be a good time to tackle some of your more important tasks or some of the harder tasks. Some people find it useful to tackle the harder tasks at the start of the day. It's called the eat the frog principle. You start your day with the hardest, biggest, burliest, most complicated task. And once that is done, everything else seems easy, and so you've got this great sense of momentum. That's one way to do it. Other people like to do a few small tasks, get that momentum going. Hey, I've ticked 4 out of 6 items off on my list. I'm on a roll. And you get that sense of being inspired to finish the rest of the tasks. Pick one that works for you, or try both. See what happens. What you don't want to do is procrastinate on the longer job or the harder job. If something is stopping you from doing your job properly, just figure it out and get on with it. Everyone knows that procrastination is bad. Most people still do it at some point. That's okay. Just don't make it crazy. To be more productive, you need to be able to identify for yourself the techniques that are going to allow you to get more done. This means knowing yourself well, this means treating yourself better, and this means understanding the tasks and putting them in a framework that allows you to get them done properly. Ask yourself those questions. How are you going to focus on the job at hand and get more done? What are the areas where you could help narrow your focus so that you can be more productive on the task you're focusing on, and also get more done so that you are achieving more throughout the day? You don't get to the end of the day and think, oh, there's a never-ending pile of stuff still to do. Jot down some notes. What are some strategies you're going to try to be more productive? What distractions can you eliminate? How can you adopt a one-file policy if you're going to be working on things? These are the techniques you need to start to adopt. Pick one and implement it. See if it helps. Find out for yourself which of these strategies are going to be best for you to nail focus and productivity.